Skyrocketing hotel room rates concerning for ICCC. Businesswomen nominated for APEC award. And Commerce and Industry Minister wants ban on fake PNG products.
This is the National EMTV News with Meribah Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Tuesday's news. The increase in hotel room rates is a concern for price watchdog ICCC. Chief Executive Officer Paulus Ein says the current hotel rates are not responsive to the change in supply. The watchdog is urging hotel owners to charge their rates based on real cost and market conditions.
Following the PNG LNG construction phase, Port Moresby saw a spike in new hotels and other properties providing accommodation and lodging. However, the end of the construction phase has left a vacuum in price tags. The head of the consumer watchdog says service providers with men in the top 10 list are not charging the right prices.
And this is concerning, especially for our consumers who wish to travel into Papua New Guinea, for business, for tourists, and for any other purpose.
ICCC understands the demand in additional expectation of hotels in Port Moresby due to the 2018 APEC summit, but says the rate charge will have a significant impact in business losing revenue. The watchdog will be keeping an eye for all hotel providers in Port Moresby.
So the ICCC now requests that our good hotel industry, especially in Port Moresby, to reconsider the current room rates. With the experience now with APEC, we're getting some feedbacks that room rates are not affordable.
According to ICCC, the trend of high hotel room rates has been the practice in the last 3 years. ICCC says given the limited choices of current supply, consumers have the right to seek alternate choices.
Room rates, in our view, in PNG, are slightly unreasonable. We are therefore appealing to our good hotel industry to now reconsider and support the economy so that we bring in a lot of tourists, potential investors, and friends to our shore.
Jack Lopava Jr., National EMTV News.
Tauranga Aquatic and Indoor Center will host media from around the world during the APEC Leaders Week in November. What is called the APEC International Media Center, IMC, will be established in the center for a period of 8 days during the summit week. CEO for the APEC Authority, Christopher Hawkins, said the center is the perfect venue for the IMC and all efforts are being made to ensure there is minimal disruption to the public use of the facility. From November 11th to the 18th, access to the Tauranga Aquatic Center will be restricted as 2,000 journalists work from the IMC. At the meeting with PNG Sports Foundation CEO Peter Tsiamalili and Chief Operating Officer David Awa, plans for the establishment of the IMC were set. APEC countries met in Port Moresby over the weekend to discuss illegal logging and associated trade in Papua New Guinea. Forestry Minister Douglas Tumuriesa said during the meeting, the government's limited budget over the years, the Department of Forestry has tried its best to make sure to uphold the natural environments of Papua New Guinea.
With the assistance of the Japanese government through the Japan International Cooperation Agency or JICA, the Forestry Department has installed a state-of-the-art remote sensing system for monitoring logging operations in Papua New Guinea.
We are obligated to the future generation and as well the international community to preserve this unique flora and fauna for the benefit of all mankind. Just like almost every internationally traded commodity, globally, it is very difficult, if not possible, to stop illegal trade in timber. Whilst we face many difficulties in management of our forest due to limited resources, including trained manpower, the government has done its best to ensure all the logging operators in Papua New Guinea operate within our laws.
Minister Tumuriesa said the first ever National Forest Inventory has been underway for almost 3 years and the results will be published next year.
We are into completing the inventory program for forest in Papua New Guinea. And I'm hoping with my managing director and officers seated before me that in the next meeting we'll report that we have even more than 10% of the world's biodiversity here in Papua New Guinea. I say this because when the officers returned, the report that is coming to us is some of the plants, some of the wild animal life and plants that they find. It's for the first time they're seen in Papua New Guinea. So I believe it should be more than 8%.
The minister also urged the larger economics of APEC to respect efforts by smaller economies like Papua New Guinea to improve people's livelihood through positive, inclusive and sustainable developments in the forestry sector. Michelle Stephen, National EMTV News.
Commerce and Industry Minister Wera Mori says he wants a permanent ban on imports of counterfeit bilums and Mary blouses. Businesses, particularly Asian-owned, selling these products have been given until the end of this month to take the products off their shelves.
Commerce and Industry Minister Wera Mori, in a press conference today, made his stand clear after consulting the Investment Promotion Authority about the matter. He said the Investment Promotion Act 1992, administered by IPA, which comes under the Department of Commerce and Industry, indicates under the Cottage Business Activities list that bilum weaving is a reserved activity. Wera said pursuant to Section 41 of the Investment Promotion Act 1992, the carrying out of business by a foreign entity in a reserved activity is an offense and a fine not exceeding 100,000 kina can be imposed.
At the outset, I would like to secondly state here that they are part and parcel of our culture and cultural heritage, which are intrinsically built into our customs. They cannot be mass-produced for commercial purposes.
The minister said according to allegations, the counterfeit bilums and Mary blouses currently sold in the country were sewn by machines and not by hand, as how it is done traditionally. He said foreigners were taking over reserved businesses which were meant for Papua New Guineans, and something had to be done about it.
That they must do note and understand that there must be respect for Papua New Guinea cultures. By the same token, our customs must be diligent, and they have got to remove such items when they are imported in bulk commodities.
Helen Joseph, a local vendor of bilums and Mary blouses at the Boroko Craft Market, welcomed the minister's move. She said the sale of these counterfeit products was wrong, mainly because their designs were being stolen.
Good blood law supporting me. Me blood mama law craft market law Boroko. Me blood belad all sign me blood tinde planted lena or some more me blood talk me amas no control itla.
The minister will make an NEC submission on the matter in the next sitting of Parliament. Charlene Airy, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. The opposition continues its criticism of the mid-year fiscal economic outlook. That story and more when we come back after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. The opposition has criticized the 2018 Mid-Year Economic and Fiscal Outlook report recently released by the government. In a statement by leader Patrick Pruich, the opposition claims the government is not helping the economic situation with increases in wages and salaries for public servants. Pruich says this massive blowout is occurring after employees in the private sector lost their jobs as PNG's per capita declined. The opposition says the 2018 MYEFO report is covering for the salary increments for 2017 and 2018 that were not accounted for in the budget. The opposition leader says while the budget for public servants shows explosive growth, most other Papua New Guineans are struggling financially in the face of the rapid slowdown in the country's economy. PNG Power Limited has joined forces with International Finance Corporation to deliver reliable power at a lower cost to remote centers of the country. Under an agreement signed by both parties, they will work together to provide reliable power to remote centers not connected by the country's two main electricity grids.
The two organizations will identify ways to boost power generation through renewable energy such as solar and wind. Bruce Corbett, PNG Power's Strategic Planning and Business Development Director, said this partnership with IFC will help achieve the government's objective of providing 70% of electrification by 2030.
In conjunction with work we're doing with the World Bank and other agencies to look at how do we achieve the government's objective and also PNG Power's objective of reaching 70% electrification by 2030 and our target of 100% renewable generation by the year 2050.
IFC's Vice President for Asia and Pacific explained that IFC has worked in many parts of the world to bring sustainable solutions to different types of energy generation. She said IFC is ready to work with PNG Power to address this challenge.
We would like to confirm that IFC stands ready with a range of instruments from advisory services, bringing potential partners and sponsors, financial services to team up with you to address this challenge.
Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
Jiwaka Governor Dr. William Tongap has condemned an alleged police shootout at Bans in Jiwaka Province last night, which killed a grade 11 student. Police are yet to investigate the cause of the shooting. However, it was alleged that the deceased was among two other men who were believed to be under the influence of alcohol and stopping vehicles passing by. The grade 11 student, believed to be from Fatima Secondary School, died from bullet wounds. His family retaliated and burnt down a police vehicle.
Taking the life of a year 11 student by shootout is not really good. We do condemn the action, but at the same time, we'd like to ask the people in North Wagi to, after the burning of the police vehicle, not to do any more damages to government property, but leave all these things to the ends of police and law.
Here with Tuesday's news, we'll have more after these messages. Don't go away. Welcome back to Tuesday's news. Turning overseas now, it's a feisty drama fit for reality TV as Donald Trump's feud with a woman who was fired from The Apprentice and then sacked from the White House is playing out in prime time. The messy saga involves an explosive tell-all book, secret recordings, and plenty of public insult.
Omarosa Manigat Newman had zero policy expertise and absolutely no political experience when she was appointed by Donald Trump to be one of his senior advisors at the White House. But she had been on The Apprentice, the reality TV show that he'd hosted. They were the perfect coupling.
I like Omarosa. Omarosa's a good person.
She's also black in a White House that lives up to its name as being, well, very white.
Donald Trump is a con.
And with her firing and book that she's now touting, the reality TV genre has come to the White House. In the book, she accuses the president of being a racist and misogynist. He fired back.
Lowlife. She's a lowlife.
But revenge is a dish best served cold, and she has planned this all out, extraordinarily with a tape of her firing by Chief of Staff John Kelly.
Can I ask you a couple of questions? Is the president aware of this?
Let's not go down the road. This is a non-negotiable discussion. This has to do with some pretty serious integrity violations.
That drew gasps in the West Wing. The firing took place in the Situation Room, a place where no recordings are ever allowed. That was yesterday. Today, Omarosa had a new tape to play. Donald Trump feigning ignorance about the dismissal.
You know, they run a big operation, but I didn't know it. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Damn it. I don't love you leaving at all.
And now Donald Trump has come out swinging. Wacky Omarosa, who got fired 3 times on The Apprentice, now got fired for the last time. She never made it, never will. She begged me for a job, tears in her eyes. I said, OK. The flippant response would be to say, well, this is all good, harmless fun. But this is the West Wing, the nerve centre of the most powerful country on earth. And while dramatists have always sought to depict politics as soap opera, the real thing is coming up with more bizarre plot lines than any scriptwriter would dare imagine.
A man has died in Utah after stealing a jet plane and then crashing it into his house while some of his family members were still inside. It came just hours after the 47-year-old experienced pilot was arrested for assaulting his wife.
Oh, the whole house. Oh my gosh.
Neighbors watching, terrified as this Utah home is engulfed in flames.
Do they know what happened?
It's an airplane.
Tonight, investigators want to know why the pilot allegedly stole that plane and intentionally crashed it into his own home. That high-pitched sound, the jet engine still running.
There were 2 other people, occupants in the home.
They weren't injured, but the pilot, 47-year-old Dwayne Youd, died in the crash. Officials say on Sunday night, he was booked on domestic violence charges and made bail. Police say when they escorted him back to his residence after midnight, he was calm. Then 2 hours later, they got the call.
They've got a house that's fully involved.
They believe the twin-engine jet belonged to Youd's employer. His daughter tonight, shocked.
I'm still in a little bit of disbelief, and it's going to be hard.
There are fears Turkish currency crisis could spread to other vulnerable nations, and even healthy economies like New Zealand's aren't immune. Turkey's latest moves to stabilize the lira are failing, its president striking out like a man under siege. He's blaming new American sanctions, calling it a stab in the back from a supposed ally.
In almost 40 years in business, Hakeem Akçay has never seen sales this bad. All his stock is imported, and with the value of the Turkish lira plunging, he's making huge losses.
I'm cancelling my next orders to try and sell what I have here now, and in 3 months I'll see if I have to close down.
The lira took a nosedive last week after Donald Trump announced sanctions and up to 50% tariffs on Turkish aluminium and steel. The US president's calling for the release of imprisoned American pastor Andrew Brunson. Turkey's president, though, is defiant, calling the taxes an economic siege.
You first become a strategic partner, then you shoot your partner in the foot.
Recep Tayyip Erdogan has warned he may look for partners elsewhere, and he's reportedly already spoken to Russia's President Vladimir Putin.
It's a pity you chose a pastor over your strategic partner in NATO.
But simply blaming the US for Turkey's currency crisis is not the full picture. Turkey has a vast amount of debt in US dollars, which is getting harder to pay off. A year ago, it took 3.5 liras to buy $1 US. But Erdogan's strongman politics, alleged meddling in the central bank, and his refusal to hike interest rates has caused jitters. It now takes 7 lira to buy $1 US, a record low. One of its saving graces, though, is tourism, the exchange rate already pulling in visitors.
It took me by surprise that lira is that I get so much lira for my euros, but it's great.
But it's doing little to stop the lira's slide on international markets, with foreign investors bailing. There's now concern about contagion into other emerging markets.
It's like a disease that nobody can get out of. It's like a flu. There's no cure for it. You just have to bear with it.
80 million Turks, like Hakeem Akçay, will also have to bear with it, as defiant strongman politics, both at home and abroad, affects their daily lives.
Prayers and well wishes are being offered across the world for the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, who's reportedly gravely ill in Detroit.
She earned plenty of respect, all right, her signature tune becoming a civil rights and women's rights anthem. The 76-year-old is surrounded by close friends and family and has been in hospice care for a week. Aretha Franklin was the first woman to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987. With 18 Grammy Awards and 75 million record sales, she's still one of the best-selling artists ever and considered by many as the greatest singer of all time. And let's leave you with another one of her greats.
The moment I wake up,
Back home, and 25 women entrepreneurs around the country are attending a two-day workshop hosted by the Department for Religion, Youth and Community Development. The women will be using the skills gained in the workshop, which began today, to sell their products to potential investors during the upcoming APEC meetings.
25 women entrepreneurs were selected from 4 regional workshops by the Department of Religion, Youth and Community Development. The women started today and are learning skills on improving, marketing and selling their products to potential investors from the 21 APEC economies. Soroy Eo, Minister for Religion, Youth and Community Development, congratulated the women on their selection and participation.
What we have, the group of you who are present today, is really the outcome of that exercise that took place since then. So may I welcome you on behalf of the government.
He told the women that they were making use of their opportunity and were being productive.
Very, very important. We are creating opportunities for ourselves and those around us. We are also championing the cause of ladies, mothers in this country, that they are not lost there either in a kitchen or wasting time sitting around and gossiping, but being productive.
He told them that they were addressing some key policies in government and were showing the best practices for women in business.
It's how we put together and recognize what you are doing in a cohesive, in a coordinated manner. And 3 is sharing best practices on women's economic empowerment. It's important that we continuously help to empower women folks in this country.
He encouraged the women to continue with their good work, which he says also contributes to expanding the economy of the nation and contributing to government taxes.
So what you are doing is contributing to expanding that base in which government can create opportunities and bring in required income as well as taxes to the government's coffers.
Fideli Sukina, National EMTV News.
And 4 women out of the 25 women entrepreneurs attending the two-day workshop hosted by the Department of Religion, Youth and Community Development were nominated to be finalists for an award for women entrepreneurs in APEC economies.
Anna Solomon, Secretary for the Department of Religion, Youth and Community Development, made the announcement of the award, which would be similar to that of the APEC Women Idol Award, which was won in 2015 by Businesswomen, the late Janet Sape.
Every time there's an APEC meeting for women, economists come up with a project. In 2015, there was an APEC Women's Idol, okay, for each of the economies. And for Papua New Guinea, it was the late Janet Sape. She was the icon, the icon of women in each of the economies. So she was voted there. This year, in September, it's Russia's award.
The women are Florence Jaukai, a Bilumwe designer, Dorothy Luana, a producer of organic beauty and health products, Teresa Timbi, a producer of spices found in the highlands, and Shelin Lomatopu, a coffee grower and downstream processor. They were picked from 25 women entrepreneurs who have businesses in the tourism and hospitality sector, design and tailoring, and food and beverage. Finalist Florence Jaukai is known for making Bilum dresses and bringing the fabric onto the international runway. She was emotional and could not hold back the tears.
I am very privileged. I was emotional because it's the first time again after a very long time the government has looked back into Bilum, and it's a great initiative that they have done for the women, other 25 entrepreneurs and other women out in the country, and the country has to give the best back to APEC with our products.
She said that many people thought she was out of her mind when she wanted to bring Bilumwe globally, but she says she made sure she took up the challenge.
Most people think that I was stupid or I was like just another woman trying to go around like a woman entrepreneur like anybody else, but I believed in myself and I believed in the women and what we all can do if we stand together. So I gave hope to the women that we will have a market someday, one day. So
the designer added that she was happy to find a market for the Bilum overseas and had good partners helping her.
Back in the country, I couldn't get the support that I wanted, so I had to go through and work with organizations and that are outside, like the Pacific Trade Investment, based in Sydney, and International Trade Center in Geneva. I had to work with them and try to find a way that they can help us and raise us like this. So
Florence was not happy, though, that the product that defined Papua New Guinea was being counterfeited, which she says needs to be addressed swiftly by the national government.
So what they're doing is a breach of trade. It's not right. There has to be a law imposed to look after and protect our indigenous art and our culture.
Felix Sukina, National EMTV News.
APEC Minister Jasin Chechenko officially launched the APEC logo on an Air Niugini Boeing 767 this afternoon at Jackson's International Airport. The aircraft, including 3 others, will be branded with the logo and will fly over international borders to represent Papua New Guinea.
The national flag carrier Air Niugini will brand 2 Boeing 767s and 2 Boeing 737s with the APEC 2018 logo. The planes will fly over international borders, carrying the name of Papua New Guinea to billions of people worldwide.
The plane flies to all its destinations throughout the world and Southeast Asia. It will promote that Papua New Guinea will be hosting APEC in 2018.
The minister said this will create a strong economy for the country in the future.
This is not a small thing, this is a huge event. We're creating history in our country, and this will be remembered for a long, long time. So in November, when the world is watching Papua New Guinea, over 1 billion plus people will know where Papua New Guinea and Port Moresby is. And that exposure is priceless. And we only can look forward to the benefits from APEC now and after, leaving a lasting legacy for our economy, for our exposure, for tourism, for promotion, you name it, it will do it.
Michelle Steven, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. We'll go for a break now. When we come back, some sporting updates in Trukai Sports. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with Rugby League, and the SPPNG Hunters will play their last home match this weekend at the Oil Search National Football Stadium. The Hunters will take on the Wynnum Manly Seagulls on Sunday at 3 p.m. in the Round 23 clash.
This week, the Hunters will be involved in promoting their last home match this weekend. They have won their last 5 matches and currently sit 6th on the Queensland Interest Super Cup ladder. They play their last home match against a tough Wynnum Manly Seagulls outfit at the Oil Search National Football Stadium. This week, the team will be visiting various locations around the nation's capital. The final 18-man team will be finalized on Thursday, where players will be presented their jerseys for this weekend's clash by SP Brewery Managing Director Stan Joyce. On Friday, the Hunters team will be promoting ticket sales at the 3 Brian Bell outlets at Vision City, Broco Plaza and Gordon's Home Centre. The captain's run will be held on Saturday at the National Football Stadium before their match on Sunday at 3 p.m. Elijah Levette, National EMTV Sports.
The third batch of Team PNG athletes began training in the PNG Olympic Committee Hero Program this week. 21 male and female athletes from various sporting codes have confirmed their names in this year's program. The week-long program equips participants with skills in public speaking, presentations, professional conduct and running of programs, among other topics. The program began in 2016 with the first batch and is supported by ExxonMobil PNG. Don't go away. Trukai Sports continues with more after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To the NRL, and after signing one of the longest playing contracts in the Warriors' history, David Fusitua is all about repaying the faith. His stellar season looked to have stalled before the monster 5-year deal was inked last week. Today, he said it's the boost he needed as they roll towards the finals.
It's not until now that we know how much this moment meant to David Fusitua. The NRL's leading try scorer earlier this season had hit a rut. 7 long weeks since he last crossed the chalk. Despite that drought, his club tabled a multi-million-dollar offer last week, and the ultimate show of faith could be just what he needs to unleash again.
It's a cool feeling because it's cool to know that the club has a lot of faith in me, and I want to repay them.
Leading the Warriors with 16 tries this season, the 23-year-old's fourth on the NRL try-scoring ladder. And while his captain is the standout of what's being called the best back three in the NRL, Fusitua's new deal is based on his potential to one day take over as the top strike weapon.
I think the thing with David is that, he doesn't understand how good he can really be, and that's going to be a continuous journey and challenge for him.
Stephen Kearney even once tried to get Israel Folau to mentor Fusitua because of their similarities. He's certainly one of the most dominant players in the year, but the aim is for all-round consistency.
It's not going to happen straight away, but now I'm going to keep learning and keep getting better.
It's my job to make sure that I keep him honest with that.
He's currently the only Warriors player locked in till 2023. Not bad considering in 2015 a run of bad injuries caused some serious doubts.
I had thoughts in my head where maybe my body's just not cut up for it and it can't last, but there's a real credit to the team here at the Warriors.
And proof that top NRL talent can still be developed here.
The Rugby Union and the All Blacks are backing Via Fifita to earn his way back into the squad as they prepare for the Bledisloe opener in Sydney this weekend. It comes after the blockbusting Hurricanes forward opened up about his confusion over his axing.
A stunning showcase of strength and athleticism. Via Fifita burst onto the international scene last year, but as the All Blacks hit the training paddock in Sydney today, he's been left to mull over why exactly he's not there.
We love Via. We just felt that the best thing for him, he went through a bit of a mixed super season and mainly playing at lock, and we just felt it was time that he actually spent a bit more time at 6 just to get to know that role really, really well.
That response coming after the 26-year-old told Fairfax he was confused about why he was left out and felt like he wasn't being told the truth, with Steve Hansen saying he needed more time at 6, then selecting Highlanders lock Jackson Himopo as a blindside flanker.
We'd love to see him come back in pretty soon, so it was really just a matter of doing that. And if he hasn't quite understood that, then we'll go and clear that up again.
Fifita emphasising he's not holding any ill will towards the coaches as the All Blacks prepare for their first Bledisloe showdown. The players in this squad have 1,078 test caps between them, and for all that experience, not one of them knows what it feels like to lose the Bledisloe. But they don't buy into suggestions. That means added pressure.
Word choice we use is that it's no one's. Like every year that we embark on this journey, I guess the trophy's no one's. We don't own the trophy.
The halfback also weighing in on the debate over whether Richie Mo'unga's deserved a start at 10 over Perenara's Hurricanes teammate Beauden Barrett.
I don't think his ability to play rugby should ever be in question, especially at this point in time. I think a lot of things that are said are purely just to make hype.
Although in a country with dwindling rugby interest, a bit of hype may be just what this test match needs.
A misdirected email has led to a more than awkward situation between one of the New Zealand's high-performance teams and their coach. Details of the email caused tension on their side as they prepared for a World Cup playoff.
A coach who expects better from his players, detailing his frustrations in an email to a team trainer. One player is struggling to run, another struggles to do repeated efforts, and another struggles to push through pain and heat. He finishes by saying, as we know, they don't work hard enough at training. The message is sent, but the coach has inadvertently emailed his criticisms to every member of the team as well. And this is the moment that creates a rift between Mark Hager and his Black Sticks women's squad at the World Cup in London. Hager apologises to the team after realising his mistake.
Trapped, another variation, it's gone in!
Less than a week later, the side loses to Argentina and is knocked out of the tournament. Their 11th place finish, well below the team's expectations. Hockey New Zealand responded to One News requests for an interview, saying they were aware of the situation, the matter had been dealt with by senior players and Mark Hager, and the incident requires no further investigation. One News has spoken to people close to the team who say something needs to change within the environment. It's understood friction between coach and some players has been an issue for a long time. It was only in April the team won gold at the Commonwealth Games, a first in New Zealand hockey history. But putting that success aside, they've had just a 21% win rate this year, dropping them to 6th in the latest world rankings. The team is currently on a break before preparing for their next competition. One News understands players and their coach have decided to put the incident behind them and move forward together.
And that's it for True Guys Sports. We go for a break. When we come back, the weather details for the next 24 hours. Stay tuned.
True Guys Sports. True Kai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, mostly fine for Port Moresby with a top of 31 as well, and mostly fine for Daru, Kerama and Alatau. A chance of rain for Pondetta with a top temperature of 31 degrees. To the Momasa region, partly cloudy for Leh with a top of 31, 27 degrees and cloudy weather expected for Wau. Rain and drizzles expected in Madang with a top of 30 degrees as well, and cloudy weather expected in Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, some showers expected in Kokopo and Rabaul with a top of 31 degrees and rain and showers expected in Buka. Mostly fine for Kimbe with a top of 30 degrees and mostly fine weather expected for the next 24 hours in Lorengau and Kavieng. And in the Highlands region, rain then fog expected for Goroka and Kundiao with a top of 22 degrees with rain and morning fog expected in Mount Hagen. Cloudy weather with early morning fog expected in Mendi and Wabeg. The top temperature is there 23 degrees.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the news, sport and weather for today, Tuesday the 14th of August 2018. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team from right around the country, pleasant viewing. Good night.